Hi guys, this is Paul again. I've got another new video to show you, and I'm calling this Quantum Harmonics in 3D Reality, Quad Step 288. In my last video on quantum harmonics, I showed I was finding a lot of symmetry using Quad Step 288. Let's take another look at that wonderful arrangement. In front, I'm showing two sequences of quad step rings. I show 1A and 1B. They could be shown together, but the rings would be overlapping. Now, this is because we are looking at the two sets in 2 dimension. Basically, some people would say, oh, we've got chaos. So that is how the theory stuck for 60 years. But what I'm going to show in this video is that 2-dimensional chaos is a wonderful 3-dimensional order. Okay, to start, I'm going to show you what I've got in front. I'm going to show it in 3 dimension. I'm not going to show as many rings on this, but you get the point. I start by showing A side and B side separate, and you can see that the balls are not overlapping. Now look what happens when I bring the two sides together. Now you can see that the balls are overlapping. Now it's not chaos. Now look what happens when I turn that 2-dimension into 3-dimension. Now you can see that the balls are turning into a wonderful 3-dimensional order without any chaos. As you can see, it's like a beam of light. It's getting wider and wider. Now it's also possible that this could do the same in reverse. So let's start with the wide rings on the top. And now you can see the wide rings are decreasing in diameter as it goes along. Isn't that something? Now I've put a little anim together showing the left and the right side A and B. They look like a couple of pulses. But what I'm trying to do is to demonstrate the wonderful order, 3-dimensional order that comes out of quad step. But this 3-dimensional order has been described as completely meaningless by mathematicians of chaos theory. But the way I look at it, to sell something completely useless for the last 60 years makes them #1 salesman. Anyways, let's move on a little bit. In my earlier videos, I showed that the quad step rings would line up perfectly with some of the polyhedra. I've put an anim together to show 3 popular polyhedra that I've been using. So let's take a look at them. In front, I'm showing the Alkasi, the dodeca, and the Ikosa. I realize they've got longer names like the train station in Wales, but I think these 3 names will just do the job fine. Okay, let's start with the center dodeca and look at the rings. Now what I'm showing in front are 4 rings, 36, 48, 48 and 36, and they all divide by 3. Now what's amazing about this is that all the spheres are all close packed and they're not overlapping. Okay, now let's move on to the Ikosa, and we can see that we've got 2 rings, 40 ball rings, and these are 5-fold rings, and they are doing exactly the same. The 40 ball rings are in a perfect array, and they're all the same diameter spheres that I show on the 48 ball. So this perfect 3-dimensional order is giving us a size relationship between the Ikosa and the dodeca. Now in the mathematicians forum, somebody asked the size differences between the dodeca and the Ikosa for volume, and it went unanswered. But I guess if they keep their focus on chaos, They can never answer this question. Okay, let's take a look at the Alkasi. Now the Alkasi is not a platonic solid, and it is not one of the special five. Anyways, let's take a look at it because it's a little bit different. Now I'm showing 3 rings on the Alkasi, a 20, a 40 and a 20 ring. Now I also show 2 S40 rings. Now in order for these rings to fit the 3D geometry of the Alkasi, they had to be scaled down a little bit. But this is really telling us something about the quad step system. We are working in groups of 4 in perfect 3-dimensional order. Now this amazing feature is only seem to be possible because we are working in groups of 4. So this allows us to make the diameter of them quad step rings in a very perfect size between the groups. But I guess these wonderful features are only something that an intellectual can describe in academic words. I guess this will happen when he climbs down off his high horse. Maybe it's a big flat white horse, the same as they show in Wiltshire, England. I guess I'm being cruel because they look down their nose at my work in 3D order for the last 14 years. Anyways, I want to show you this in the top view. And I think this is plain to see that there's a wonderful 3-dimensional order coming out of quad step. I got one more thing for you to have a look at. In front, I'm showing you the 3D geometry of a pine cone and a pineapple. And I'm using the quad step balls to show you the geometry, the 3D geometry. These are a couple of pages coming out of the book that I put out on Amazon and Google Play and a couple of others. But I guess the academic world are only interested in what the peers have to say. Anyways, let's go back to the dodecagon stuff spinning around, and I think this is going to draw us to the end of this little video. So I think I better leave this to the scholars around the world to take a look at this quad step, and maybe somebody is going to say this is okay. This is even better than chaos. Anyways, this is Paul saying thank you very much for watching my video.